Your Lovable mobile application still feels like a web application. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how you can fix that and how you can make it actually feel like a native application. So as you can see in my application, I got a beautiful mobile application and I have the ability to do native features like in-app purchases and all that kind of stuff. But this pop-up, it just doesn't look native, and this toast, I don't know what that is. So today I want to give you some prompts that are going to make your application feel like a native mobile application with native UI. Now you can turn your Lovable application into a native mobile application using Despia, which is a tool that does the conversion, but you still want to make sure that you're optimizing the UI that Lovable generates to feel and behave natively. So let's take a look at that. First of all, the most obvious one is safe areas. You see, Lovable generates a web application and it doesn't automatically consider safe areas. That's why the notch in my example here is cutting off some stuff. That's the problem. So we need to make sure that that is set up correctly. So the easiest way to do that is by going to lovable.despia.com and taking a look at our safe area documentation. So if you take a look at that here, we have this beautiful Lovable prompt that you can copy and put into Lovable to make sure that safe area is implemented correctly. Now I want to mention that this prompt is not enough because you need to also specifically tell Lovable that it should be applied to the menu bars and the top navigation bars if you have those. So I'm just going to write in caps so it recognizes that this is important. Make sure that all fixed elements that are on top/bottom use those safe area vars if applicable. Okay. We probably should have added that to the prompt, but let's go into the chat node and let's see what Lovable is, doing now so that we have this integrated and what it assumes we would need to do and how we should structure that. I'm always a fan of using chat node because it allows Lovable to take a look at your code base, make sure that it implements it correctly from the first time. It removes what doesn't need to be in it, and it's all set up correctly. So as you can see, I can see the current implementation and what needs to be updated. Let me check the index CSS. So it's now going to make sure this is set up correctly. Again, if you're using the Despia blueprint that we have for Lovable, there's actually a good chance that you don't need to implement this, again, because the blueprint already includes all of that. But if you're working with an existing application, you do want to optimize it to make sure that it is all correctly set up. So as you can see, now, it says that there are some missing implementations, and it created even a flowchart in how this should be set up, which is quite cool, I think. So this looks good to me. And let's wait till Lovable is done with the plan and let's implement the plan. And this can take a little bit, so we'll just, make a cut and we'll be back when the plan was implemented and we'll take a look at how this looks on the native mobile device. So I just updated this, and if we take a look, it is mostly working fine. By, mostly working fine, I mean, you can see that the top safe areas are implemented correctly, exactly the way we wanted to. Now the mobile ones, they do have the safe area, but here's what's happening. And that's a common thing that happens when Lovable builds your interface. As you can see, it looks kind of, like, ugly. That is why, because you can see clearly here that this menu bar is cutting off at some point. So it doesn't automatically stretch by this extra padding here being added from the safe area. Why is that happening? Why are not they kind of like smushed together? Because it is highly likely that this menu bar has a fixed height. And by it having a fixed height, it is then shrinking down the icons because it needs to fit in the box based on how CSS and HTML works. But we should make sure that it's not like this and the menu bar is fit content. So now it looks good, but there are some specific areas where we need to refine it. Now, Lovable is making this very easy for you to look into visual edits. And I want to click on this. Now it seems like we selected the A tag, meaning the link that goes to the page. Those are the A tags, A tag, A tag, A tag. And I want to go inside of here on styling changes style by prompting in the chat. Oh, we can select the parent on this. Let's see. Can I? No, I don't see it. It doesn't let me select the parent. So I need to now go into Lovable, and actually I can select the element. But let's say the menu bar seems to be fixed height. I think it should be fit content with top padding and bottom padding plus save area. So now let me explain to you why I'm saying that. As you can see, it's implementing it correctly here on the bottom with the save area. But because it has a fixed height, very likely it cuts it off, and then it doesn't go above, I don't know, like 4 rem or 20 pixels or something. So let's go into the chat and let's see if this is true. The prompt I used was the menu bar seems to be fixed height. I think it should be fit content with top padding and bottom padding plus save areas. Now Lovable is thinking about that, and it now says I can see the issue. The bottom nav currently has a fixed height of H16, 64 pixels on the inner div, which doesn't account for the save area padding. This means the save area padding is added to the fixed height. That's the problem. So there's a limit in how high I can go, and then you're going to have content nil formatting, and then formatting the nav taller than indeeded, making the nav bar taller than intended, and it should be taller. You're absolutely right. The issue is that the inner div has H16 fixed 64 pixels plus the save area that we implemented, which adds extra height. The navbar should be instead fit content with proper padding on all sides, including the save area. Now it's going to, implement this. So let's have it implement the plan. Now, and it will also work on all devices, web, desktop, and tablets. Now, while this is doing this, I want to show you my next master plan. Because if we go into the application and I go to the store, which now looks quite funny, but if I'm going to buy coins, you see that Lovable automatically, it really loves doing pop-ups. I don't know why it loves pop-ups so much. I don't like them. But, this is a pop-up. I don't like pop-ups. And they don't look native because you can't swipe them down. It's an ugly experience. So how we're going to fix that is we're going to make sure that all pop-ups like this, specifically this paywall here, that's my most concern today, uses a beautiful native drawer. And there is this absolutely miraculous native looking library on the internet, and that gives you this iOS style drawer. Like, just look how beautiful this looks. Like, come on, like, look at that. You can just, ooh, and it, like, you see like how it just like programmatically, like as you swipe down, like removes the blur. It's the nicest one. Don't even bother implementing the ChatCN UI drawer. It's an absolute mess in Lovable. It doesn't look native. It doesn't feel good. This is the most beautiful one. So big shout out to the author of that, of Val. It's a great one. So make sure to go on GitHub, give it some stars up, because he really deserves it. And just a note, this repo is unmaintained. He might come back to fix some stuff. So make sure to give him some love on GitHub. I think he really deserves everything because he built this beautiful, amazing library. And sadly, it's unmaintained, but it works really well. There's some issues with it I have to mention. For example, it doesn't account for save area. So when you use the sheep, like you see like this background going in the background here, that will not work on actual native devices. Why? Not because it doesn't, like, it looks fantastic, but it's going to be cut off by the notch if you're on a new iPhone, because there's no way how you can account for save area for this page sheet. Now, I think we're going to solve the page sheet situation natively in Despia. We're working on some stuff for that, but for a normal drawer, like as a pop-up replacement, what he built is absolutely amazing, and I highly suggest you use that for it, and make sure to, give him some stars, some love on GitHub. He really deserves it. So let's publish this change, and then we're going to implement the native drawers like so it looks like it's, the iOS one. And then there's some stuff that we're also going to do on our end with like page sheets, and you can open the page as a page sheet. There's some cool stuff coming. But let's take a look at that. Now the project is updated. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to close the application and let's see if the menu bar looks correctly. Let's open it again. Again, that's the beautiful thing about Despia when you build. Look at this. Save area, mission accomplished. We have the proper top save area here. We have the proper bottom save area, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Now, here's the problem with Lovable. So it works beautiful on the first page. Second page also great. Progress page great. The store page doesn't have the save area. So sometimes that happens in Lovable. So we're going to select the store page here. Okay, and I'm going to tell Lovable on the chat the save areas work amazingly, but and then you put the page that doesn't work. The store page does not seem to use them for the top save area. I'm going to go back into the chat so we can make sure this is all correctly implemented. There you go. So now this will load a little bit, and we're going to take a look at that. I can see the save area padding is working for bottom nav, but you're right that the store page and likely other pages aren't accounting for the top save area. Let me check the current one. I can see the issue. The store page starts at line 68 with this, but doesn't have any top save area padding. So it's now going to correct that one. So always make sure to go through all the pages, make sure it accounts for the save area correctly. And then we're going to have this all nicely set up. So let's implement this plan. And then we're going to just wait till Lovable finishes. And there's some other stuff that we can do to make it truly feel native. One thing that we probably want to do is add some haptic feedback to it. So if I'm going to go here to haptic feedback, this is also a very nice implementation that you can do. So it really feels native, so you can use the Haptic engine and all that kind of stuff. There is, we can use heavy haptic, light haptic, which are going to be the two haptics that we'll be using. Heavy haptic for big UI shifts, light haptic for small clicks or something like this. And then we're going to plug this into the Lovable. So we got this now set up inside of here. So let's publish this. And then we're going to make sure that we're using the drawer, and then we're going to add haptic feedback to this so it really feels nice. So let's wait till this updates, and then we're going to go into the application. Let me just close it. Let me share my screen on my iPhone. Let's open it again. Let's check out the store page, and then we just want to make sure that save area looks good on all pages. You see how beautiful, fantastic. And yeah, we got the coins. Now we gotta fix this one. So, as you can see, now in my specific implementation, this on the store page is called buy coins. Now you may have some other drawers, but in this example, let's say when I click on buy coins, I get a pop-up to buy coins. This is not really a true native feel. So I want you to do following. Okay? If the user agent includes Despia, right? If the user agent includes Despia, I'm going to tell it use includes via JS string comparison. This is when I'm just writing to make sure it actually gets it right. Sometimes it doesn't get it right. It uses some other methods to test the user agent. You want to get the user agent and then define it as a variable or as a const, and then see if that includes the word Despia in lowercase. That's how you detect if it's running in the native application or not. You could also do this based on breakpoints. also possible if you want it to be working in the PWA. But I'm just going to do this based on the if it's running in Despia or not, because sometimes you want a different native experience for a PWA compared to being running on a native app that runs on the store. So you can use this prompt if the user agent includes Despia, use includes via JavaScript string comparison, to see if it runs in the native environment. And if it runs in the native environment, use the native drawer, right? And then I'm going to copy this val, and then if in Despia, make this buy coins pop-up not be a pop-up, but a val drawer using the npm package val. Here are their docs. We'll have to paste it here. Let's go to the chat so it starts planning this. It's very important so we know what we're doing before we're just starting to, use all our credits for some random stuff. So let's see. And there you go. It will now say, I'll help you create a more native feel for the buy coins interface when running in Despia. Let me first examine the current implementation to understand the flow better. Perfect. I can see the current setup and the drawer component is already available. Now let me check the isInDespia utility function to understand if it detects. Excellent. Okay, now it's creating the plan to implement the drawer with the val drawer. So now it's going to set that up. Let's implement the plan. So when it runs in Despia, we can have a native drawer. We can also do this based on the width of the screen. But again, some applications, if you're opening your website in Safari, sometimes you want a different UI if you open the website in the Safari compared to if your web application runs in a native runtime such as Despia. So this is why you can look for the user agent, which essentially tells you which browser it's running in, where if it runs in Despia, it's running in the Despia browser, even though it's not a browser, it's a native environment, but it interprets HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so technically it should count as a browser engine somewhat, but with lots of native files and the ability to run JavaScript to access native functionalities, write data to the native file system, read data from the native file system, all that kind of stuff. So done. The paywall now uses the native bottom drawer. In Despia, it keeps the dialog for web. So let's publish this. And let's see if this works. So first of all, if we go on buy coins in here, it is going to revenue cat because we don't have the drawer on the web, actually. So I don't even think we need to look for the user agent in our specific implementation, but I assume you didn't watch the 5-hour video before this, or the 4-hour video before this, setting up revenue cat. So let's assume that this is correct. Also, we need to have a fallback safe area that, there's still a 1 rem padding. We're going to look into that. We're going to make it pretty. We're going to get obsessed with details today, but we want it to look nice, right? You gotta be obsessed with details if you're building a great applications that users will love. So we're going to do that today. Let's share the screen again. Let's take a look at this. Now, it should give me a beautiful drawer. So now if I'm going to buy my coins, look at that. We got this beautiful drawer. I can just slide it down. Isn't that nice? Beautiful. Now, what I don't like is that the drawer just jumps up because of the loader. So let's prompt following. Now, this is really what's making it important, so it feels nice and native. Let's say when I open the drawer on the Despia app, we are loading data on the data from the backend, which, as you know, is, while it's loading, showing a loader/skeleton. Now, I can see this while the drawer is op, and when the drawer and when the data is fully loaded, the drawer jumps up a bit to show the data correctly that caused a layout shift. So can we do following to fix that? On my kinds in Despia app. No. On app start, load all products and keep the data so the next time the drawer opens, it just shows the product data that's already in state, and there are no layout shifts. Right, because I don't want to load the products, like, we're not changing the products every minute. This is going to be like a once a year or once in a lifetime change. So we can just load it on app load and make it more efficient. So the drawer is like, ooh, uck. So we don't have to wait, and there's no loader, making it look very nice and native. So let's take a look at that, because it's all about speed. And because Lovable builds a single page application, you have the benefit of speed, because you're not navigating pages, you're staying on the same page. It's just fake pages. So we can use this to our benefit to fetch on app load, meaning the moment the app loads, all the data that we already need, and then we're just going to, store it in a variable or somewhere like that, and then we can just open it instantly to have a way nicer feeling when it comes to this. So now Lovable is creating the plan here. So let's wait till it's done with that. It can take a little bit. And then we're just going to implement this. So let's see. Beautiful use products called in app.tsx. Okay. Edge case, product still loading. If a user opens drawer before initial node, they will see a spinner once. After that, products are cached and draw. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Like, if it's not loaded yet because there's a network error, then you can fall back to such things. But under good conditions, good network, the app started. You want it to use as less reloads as possible, or you want to reload in the background while the user is doing other stuff. And that's usually what most native applications already do. They're very state-based, so everything feels fast, snappy, and smooth. So let's take a look at that, and then we're going to have, there's some other cool stuff that you can do with Dal, like you have snap points. So like you can have a drawer like that just shows the review, and then if you slide up, the next snap point is the full thing, and if you scroll up more, then you have the whole page sheet here that scrolls with unveiling more information. So this is a really beautiful JavaScript library. Like, you could snap to this point, snap to this point to have like full page sheets and all that kind of stuff. So highly recommend using that. It's really beautiful. Also works great with dark mode. Oh, it doesn't seem to be working that way with dark mode, actually. Their page doesn't seem to be working with dark mode. But it's still a nice library. Again, it's unmaintained, but I think beautiful. You can also do non-dismissible, so that you only have to click a button to close it. You can do a dynamic drawer. Ooh, oh, that's nice. Like, look at this recreation of the family drawer. Oh, that's actually beautiful. Like, look what you can do with that. Like, oh my God, this looks like iOS. This is beautiful. Like, you can do lots of cool stuff. It's a great library. It works. So let's see. Now the experience should be way more snappy and way more native feeling in our application. So let's double check on that if that is actually true. the idea is, because React is a dynamic state, based application system, we can write stuff, we can read stuff from the database, put it into a state variable, and then next time we use it, we already have it on the front end cached in this variable. So we don't need to reload and wait a second till the data comes from the back end. And we can do this for data that's like, it doesn't change while the user is using the application. Usually the pricing doesn't change while the user is using the application. Now, unless you're building an app that has like dynamic prices, I don't know, you're selling gas or something, gasoline, may need that for that application. But besides that, you should be fine. So now, as you can see, you see how snappy this is. I click the button and it opens this beautiful, like, look at that. Like, come on, isn't that beautiful? And then you close the drawer. It has like this iOS like spring effect to it. And just look at the user experience. Your user wants to buy some coins. They click on here, opens this beautiful drawer, right? They buy 25 coins, and then I get, and I can buy the coins. Look at that. Now they're buying the coins. Okay. And now the coins should update in the background. Take a look at this. Now, if you already have some implementations that you want to programmatically close the drawer, you can also programmatically close the drawer. So in this example, when the user buys coins, when the coins update, the drawer should close. So let's tell it the drawer is to buy coins, as you know. Close the drawer. Actually, we can close the drawer when the user already starts to initialize the checkout. Close the drawer when the user selects a plan / starts a checkout. Close the drawer. Let's do close the drawer 2 seconds after close the drawer. Close the drawer. Close the drawer. Because it takes some time for iOS to actually show the in-app purchase. They always take like 2 seconds. So I do the drawer is to buy coins, as you know. Close the drawer 2 seconds after the user selects a plan / starts the checkout. Let's go to chat. Let's have a think about that. So we have a true, beautiful native experience here in the application that really feels like an application by the way it's layouted, the way we're using touch, gestures, and all that kind of stuff. So now this is taking a look at that. And then we can already start implementing a little bit of haptic feedback here. I would not necessarily do success haptic, warning haptic, or error haptic if you're planning to build this as an Android application, because all of those are not necessarily available on all Android devices. They will be available on major Android devices, but if your user is using a Yumi Digi X500, something like that, and from some random Chinese manufacturer, they may not support them, because with Android, the problem is like not all native SDKs are consistent across all devices. What's always consistent with Android is heavy haptic and light haptic, because they are Android specific. But success haptic, warning haptic, error haptic, those things always are dependent on if the manufacturer recognizes that this should be set up in the system. Those are additional ones to the core base ones that are going to be supported by Android. Now, if you do iOS, you have all of them, and all major Android flagship devices will support all of them. But it's about the small $120 devices that everything that's a little bit more exotic may not be fully supported by the device system. Just something to note, because, some manufacturers don't register all functionalities beyond the basic ones that vanilla Android gives them. So just a little FYI. But now we have this plan for the paywall closing, so we get a great experience. So let's implement this plan, and then we're going to have a truly beautiful native feeling application experience here built in Lovable. And then, while you're testing stuff, you can already, change the breakpoints. And the cool thing is, if we go to the store here and I go on buy coins, this doesn't open the drawer because this is the web one. So the web one will go to our web purchase with revenue cat rather than, going to the pop-up and staying on the app. So we can actually, with Despia, see, does it run in a native environment or does it run in a web environment, and then have different conditional logic. So when they're on the web page, we don't need to pay Apple 30%. So we can just, forward them to Stripe or Revenue Cat web purchases. So now we have this auto close feature, which I think is beautiful. And those little things really make a difference in how users like your application, how native it feels, how great of the user experience it is. It's all very important. So let's wait till it's updated, and then let's buy some credits here. Maybe we can even start a subscription. Let's see. And let's open that real quick. I think my subscription should be canceled by now, but let's see. Now it's loading the coins. As you can see, buy the coins. Ooh, there you go. Now I got the coins. Let's buy some coins. And now, as you can see, the drawer in the background closes, and now I can buy the coins, as you can see. And now it says you're all set. Okay. And now the coins will update. There you go. Just updated the coins. And then, you got this beautiful drawer that's dismissible. Users can swipe it down. It really feels like, look at this. It has like this little bounce like Apple. If you scroll down a little bit and then release, it bounces a little bit back up. Like you see, whoop, and then after certain breakpoints, it bounces down. Feels really nice. So there you go. That is implemented. Now there are a few things I want to do that I want to make sure that we have set up. For the menu bar, as you can see, the menu bar looks great in the application, but now on the web application, there's no safe area. There's no extra space for the menu bar. For the menu bar on the web, there should still be bottom padding as big as the top padding, so it also looks good on the web. Because right now you see it looks ugly. There's no padding because it only sets the safe area as the padding. So now I'm telling it for the menu bar on the web, this is the web platform here, there should still be bottom padding. That's that's this extra space here that's called padding. As big as the top padding, so it's unison, right? I need to check the current styling of the bottom navigation bar to understand I can see the issue looking at line 14. Yes, it probably only sets it to be the safe area and no extra padding on top of that. So we need to make sure that it's set up correctly. The problem is that portion, plan, better fix, padding with environment. The bottom nav solution changed the padding approach to padding 1 rem, top padding, plus extra safe area. This requires the Tailwind class to be adaptive, safe area styling, to alternative using Tailwind friendly approach on web. Okay, in Despia, safe area with safe area about 35 pixels. Now I need to tell it you need to use on Despia the safe area var from Despia. So how about we do this? And this is my favorite approach. So we're just going to hard code the top and bottom padding. Let's hard code the top and bottom padding of the menu bar. And for the safe area, we are adding 2 divs. One using the Despia bottom safe area as height, and the other using the BNV safe area as height for PWA. So this is also the safe area that actually works in PWAs if you also want to be full cross-platform support for PWAs. And we show the Despia one if the user agent string includes Despia and hide the other slash vice versa if the user agent does not include Despia, hide the Despia safe area and show the PWA1 using the environment variables. We can also do the same thing for the top padding. So now we're even more cross-platform support, because now with this prompt, we're handling safe area correctly on Safari. We're handling it correctly on a PWA. We're handling it correctly on the browser. We're handling it correctly on iOS with Despia and on Android with Despia as well. So we are now on a bunch of platforms, and we're making sure that the safe area looks fabulous on all of the platforms. So that's also something that you want to probably consider implementing, so it feels native and beautiful, but also still is beautiful and a great experience and looks great and feels great on all other devices, and it feels like the default for the platform. So on the web, you want to use pop-ups because that's what users are used to. On the web version in Safari, you probably also want to do pop-ups because that's what users are used to on the web. Having drawers on Safari web or on Chrome web is a bad experience, because if you slide something down, the page itself scrolls, and it's a different, user expect a different UI on Safari web. But then if it's a mobile app with Despia, same code base, you don't have to create different projects. You just do a condition: if user agent includes Despia, show this native UI drawer, because we will know that there's no like funky Safari scroll or something going on in Despia, and then it makes sense having such UI elements in the native application. So it's a beautiful cross-platform solution, and the beautiful thing about that is you do not have to set that all up. But let's see, Despia safe areas. Okay, now one thing to consider: always double check what safe areas is using. Oh no, actually, this makes sense, because okay, my bad. I just read Despia safe area was that we don't define Despia safe area, but no, it takes the variable safe area, it creates a variable Despia safe area. That's completely fine. Okay, double check. That's fine. Let's implement the plan and let's see what Lovable is doing here, and then we hope that it works great on all platforms, looks great on the web. We're fixing this bottom padding. We're already thinking also about some users who may just want to use it as a PWA. It's also going to look great on there, but then also the ones who want to install it from the App Store to get even more native features, they can also do that. And, that's how you have full cross-platform capabilities directly from Lovable, and you don't have to have a separate code base for React Native and a separate code base for React, and then some conditional logic to make sure if it's running in the PWA or not. If it's standalone, you have it all in one code base and it all works great together. And that's the beautiful thing about using Despia to build your application in Lovable. But let's publish and update that. And just ignore my security warnings. This is not a live project. This is just for a YouTube video. And I need to have some security warnings because otherwise I can't make a video on how you fix your security. But as you can see, we now have the safe area here on like the extra padding looking beautifully on the web. And if I'm going to now open the Despia application, here comes the final test. This should also look good inside of there. And it does. I think there's a little misunderstanding about the safe area top that is not needed on the menu bar. You see, like, it looks good on the bottom safe area. I can approve. We don't need top safe area on the menu bar. So let's see, looking good, but I assume you misunderstood something. We do not need top safe area on the top of the menu bar. LOL. Let's take a look. Sometimes you gotta treat AI like a human because you never know when they put it in robots and they chase after us. You're absolutely right, my mistake. Because you see like how it looks in here, it's obviously adding the top safe area for the notch on the top of the menu bar, which it only needs to put it here. It doesn't need to add it on the top of the menu bar unless you have a 100% view height, like full screen menu bar, which most apps don't tend to have. So now it's giving us a plan. This should be a quick fix to get all sorted out. And then we're going to have our Lovable application, behave beautiful and native. Now, there is an argument to be made that this doesn't still look like a native application for some reasons, because maybe on, the outline that we're adding on elements, or when I click on something here or something like this, or the UI doesn't look one-to-one like Apple. And that's understandable. This video is not necessarily about mobile UI. Mobile UI is something that you can easily adjust by having a different style, changing the border rounding of elements, changing the shadows. That's something that you can do based on what you like, even though this looks like most React Native applications I've seen. But mobile UX, making it feel mobile, is not UI. You can make a website on Safari look like it's iOS, and it doesn't feel like iOS, right? Mobile native feeling is more about haptic feedback. It's more about using drawers. It's more about closing drawers when native UI opens. It's about getting rid of those ugly toasts. It's about those things, and also making sure that safe area is correct. And then how you change the interface, that's always up to you. And that's something you can just do by using a different styling system, a different theme system on the code that you're generating. And, this is just changing border radius and shadows essentially to make it look like, it's iOS. So, well, we're also probably going to make some videos about mobile UI, but this is more about mobile UX and making it feel native by, having sheets that swipe up, having them slide down, and then, have the snappiness to it, right? That's what makes it feel that way. And then there are always going to be some UI touch-ups needed. But let's update this. Let's publish this. And now we should have a great cross-platform experience that works great on the web, and also that works great inside of our native mobile application built with the same code base using Lovable and Despia. So if I'm now going to open that, I can just close it. That's the beautiful thing about Despia. You get over-the-air updates. And if I'm going to open the application again, you will see that this is now fixed and it looks actually great. I have the extra safe area for, like the home bar. That already accounts for that. This is how most applications look. I got the top safe area added. I got my drawers here. Oh, they're nice. Like, look how snappy they are. Like, ooh. Nice. Okay. And then I can buy even more coins. And now I'm going to get some coins. And I also have a video about how you set that up. You got the native alerts, all that kind of stuff. Now it updated the coins. Fantastic. There you go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the final ones, actually. And let's see, did I miss something? We have this, I think we're ready now to do, let's see, the drawer. Yeah, that looks all fine. So let's get ready to add haptic feedback to this so it truly feels native. So I'm going to go the safe route, and I'm just going to copy this here, but I'm going to leave out the success haptic, because if you want a success haptic, just like run heavy haptic 3 times in a sequence, you can set that up in Lovable. But it's going to be a more safe way to implement this. Because if you're doing Android, not everything is always available on all Android devices, and sometimes you want to be better safe than sorry. So let's paste the Despia docs inside of here, and let's tell it, do not use success, warning, or error haptic since Android support is limited. So do not use success, warning, or error haptic on Android since Android support is limited. But if the user agent string includes Despia, Despia, and also includes iPad, includes iPhone, includes includes iPhone or iPad, such as Despia, which is how Despia sets the user agent, Despia iPhone. Then you can use warning, error, success. But if not, only use heavy and light, and build your own sequences. And if user agent does not include Despia, at all, do not even mind running haptic feedback. Use light for buttons, heavy for UI shifts, /shift start /success, such as drawers, and success warning /error on confirmations, such as API success. No, actually, then I'm going to run this for every API call on confirmations. Okay, let's go into the chat. And then I also want to specify here, but if not, use heavy and light to build your own sequences on Android devices that will have a user agent like Despia Android. So includes Despia, but not iPad or iPhone. And that's how you add cross-platform support, by just looking at the user agent, by then figuring out in what native environment this all runs in. Wonderful. So let's take a look at what it says here. I will help you implement haptic feedback using the Despia SDK. Let me first examine the current code base to understand the structure and identify where haptic feedback would be most beneficial. Perfect, I can see the Despia native SDK is already installed. Now let me check a few files to understand. Excellent, now I have a couple, I have a complete understanding of the code base. Now it's going to create a plan. iOS exclusive haptic, success haptic, warning haptic, error haptic, they're iOS exclusive. Android only use heavy haptic and light custom sequences for success error. So it builds its own by calling those repeatedly. And then platform detection must detect Despia iPhone, Despia iPad, or Despia Android user agents. Yes. And now it's creating this whole system. Beautiful. Now it won't break if you run like success haptic in Android. Depends on what Android actually. Some most Androids won't break, but if you're using what is it, Yumi Digi A5 or something, it's just not my favorite phone so far. I bought a couple of low budget Android phones to test all the kinds of stuff, and I can tell you, even most of the low budget ones support success haptic, but there's some really bad ones like from manufacturers I never heard of, and I think I pronounced wrong, that are a little bit questionable. So if you want to be on the safe side and you want to have your app work on the Yumi Digi whatever, make sure that you only use heavy and light, and then build your own sequences if the user agent is Android. So you're better safe than sorry. Crazy world, because they do support Success Haptic, but like it doesn't seem like they successfully registered it like in the system to like fully work on some devices. So interesting world with Android. But it lets you build that, and you can see where it runs, and so you can do some fallback to account for those things with the native platforms. So now it's taking a look at the plan, it's setting all of that up, and now we will take a look at this. It's now creating this Haptics TS function. There you go, and then it updates the paywall pages, the tasks pages, the store pages, or the paywall component to be precise. And now it's editing all that kind of stuff. So we should be able now to have this all correctly set up. Seems to take a little bit. So we got val going, and then we probably also have some haptic feedback on the val events like close and all that kind of stuff. That should also work. And then we're just, the way where we got this prompt is from lovable.despia.com, where you get also videos how to set this up and all that kind of stuff. And then in Despia, there's nothing that we need to set up besides having it published to iOS or Android to the appropriate store. And there you go. And all of those updates are updates over the air. That is something really nice. So you don't have to wait 10 days for the App Store to approve all your changes. Now it seems to have it now done. So let's publish this. Now the sad thing about haptic feedback is we don't have like YouTube with haptic feedback yet, where if it vibrates on me, it vibrates on your phone. That would be great for this video because, you can't really see haptic feedback. It's more something that you feel, but I will do my best in holding my phone to the microphone, and hopefully you can hear some of that. And I'll tell you if it works. You got to take my word for it though. So let's open the application. Ooh, oh, that's nice. Let's go to the store and let's see. This is really nice. This feels like really great mobile UX. Ooh. Oh, that's nice. I don't know if you can hear that. Let me know if you can hear that. Let's see. Can you hear that? In case you can't hear that because of the studio sound I have added on the video, it really feels nice, and you can even hear it a little bit. Yeah, like, oh, it's nice. Ah, this is beautiful. This is really nice. I like that. Like adding haptic feedback to your application really makes it magical. Like it makes it like this is magic. This is fantastic. Now there's one thing I want to do. If the user agent includes Despia, never show toasts. Never show toasts. We don't need toast notifications in our UI for mobile applications. It's a controversial topic. Some people like toasts on mobile apps. I absolutely hate them. They're taking too much screen real estate away. Your UI indications of what happened should happen in line of your application. Like just like, put a badge in here up for a couple of seconds or something. So let's send that. If user agent includes Despia, never show toasts. I'm not a fan of toasts. The user will see that the UI changed and that the coins went up 50 coins. You don't need to show them a toast that it went up 50 coins, if that makes sense. So that's something that I'm not necessarily a fan of. So let's see. Now let me search for other places where toasts may be used. So if the user agent is Despia, so if all that runs in Despia, I cut out the toast. And this is a personal preference, but I don't like toast, and I think toasts do not belong on mobile apps. But again, roast me in the comments for this change. Some people like toasts on mobile apps. I don't. I hate them on mobile apps. Don't belong on there. Returns no the object return. Okay, perfect. Now it sets this all up. It will add this on the correct pages, so they're not showing the toasts. We have consistent UX. Let's implement the change. There you go. And now this should all work nicely in the application. It's going to implement that, but it really feels nice with the haptic feedback. Like, you sadly can't feel this, but like, oh, this is really neat. Like, it's stunning. Like, also, like the light one, and like when an API called success, like it bounces back and you feel like a bounce in the haptic feedback. Really nice. Oh, really, really nice. And changing pages also vibrates. That's nice. Okay, so now we have updated that. Let's update this and let's see if we got rid of the toast. And that is how you do like mobile native user experience UX in Lovable. So your application built in Lovable and Despia actually feels what people would describe as native. So let's close the application. It's not native, it's good UX. Every application should feel like this. But let's see. Now if we're going to load, let's see here. Now, as you can see, if I'm going to do something in the app, like loading something, you see there's like nice haptic feedback. So here's the thing. The haptic feedback is used as the toast because the toast indicates that something has changed and, indicates me, hey, look at the screen, something changed. In mobile apps, we're using haptic feedback for that. So when I load something, it gives me a heavy haptic when it loaded successfully to, give me this haptic feedback that I will look at the screen, I will see, oh, the UI adjusted. Let me show you that. If I'm going to buy some coins, we have this, pop up and it has a nice haptic feedback. I click on here, I get haptic feedback, and now I get this purchase confirmation. Now I'm purchasing this with this native purchase drawer. And now what's happening here is I have it updated. So it updated directly on the UI. There's no toast. We have haptic feedback for when that changed. So the user is then cued to look at the screen again. This is how you build mobile experiences. You're using actually haptic feedback to trigger the user's sensation, to look at the screen, to show them something changed so they can feel it. It's the indication. And then you adjust the UI directly on the screen without toasts. This is what I would consider mobile UX, native feeling UX, best practices, especially for hybrid applications. Now, the groundbreaking thing about that is you can now do all of that in one code base. You can have your web app in Lovable, you can have your PWA in Lovable, you can have your mobile app, your iOS app in Lovable, your Android app in Lovable, all thanks to Despia. So thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to do more videos about how you build amazing mobile applications and hybrid applications. So you build one application, it goes everywhere, and it feels amazing everywhere inside of Lovable. Thank you so much for watching, and Despia, and see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.